He was offered £1 million to play 2 nights at Wembley Stadium, and his manager said no without telling him why. That manager was Colonel Tom Parker, the man Elvis Presley trusted with every major decision of his career, from his first record deal at 21 to the night he died at 42, having never once set foot on a stage outside North America. By the time this story is over, you'll understand exactly why, and the answer has nothing to do with Elvis. Start with where Elvis actually came from, because that context matters more than most people realize. Tupelo, Mississippi. 1935. Elvis Aaron Presley was born in a 2-room house his father Vernon built for $8 in lumber. The family was poor in the way that meant going without meals, wearing the same clothes until they fell apart, and relying on neighbors for basic things most people took for granted. Vernon spent time in prison for check fraud when Elvis was 3. Gladys, his mother, worked whatever jobs she could find to keep the lights on. Elvis was an only child. His twin brother Jesse Garin was stillborn, and Gladys poured everything into him: church music, gospel singing, the radio on in the background. By the time the family moved to Memphis in 1948, Elvis was 13, quiet, deeply attached to his mother, and starting to become something nobody around him could quite categorize. He worked after school. He cut his hair differently from other boys. He bought clothes from Lansky Brothers on Beale Street, the kind of clothes other kids in his neighborhood didn't wear. He was noticed. He was different. In 1953, he walked into Sun's studio in Memphis and paid $4 to record 2 songs for his mother's birthday. Sam Phillips, who ran the studio, eventually signed him. His first regional record came out in 1954. By early 1955, he was playing small venues across the South, managed by a local promoter named Bob Neal, and then Colonel Tom Parker came calling. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. The Colonel was already successful before Elvis. He had managed Eddie Arnold and Hank Snow. He understood promotion, touring, contracts, and how to extract money from a career in ways most managers in the 1950s hadn't figured out yet. What he was not was a colonel. The title was honorary, given to him in 1948 by the governor of Louisiana as a political thank you, not earned through any military service. What he was also not was Tom Parker. His real name was Andreas Cornelis van Kuijk. He was born in 1909 in Breda, in the Netherlands, the 7th child of a delivery driver and his wife. He ran away from home repeatedly as a teenager, worked for traveling carnivals, and in 1929 left the Netherlands permanently. He entered the United States illegally, with no papers, no visa, and no legal right to be there. He gave himself a new name. He invented a new past. He claimed he was born in Huntington, West Virginia, orphaned young, raised himself. For over 30 years, it worked. Nobody checked. By the time Elvis's sister spotted Parker in a photograph printed alongside a news story about the singer, by the time family members in the Netherlands recognized him, it was already 1960, and Parker had been managing the biggest name in American music for 5 years. He had no passport. He had never applied for one, because applying for a passport means submitting to official documentation, fingerprints, background checks, all the things a man with a secret cannot afford. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me because this next part is why the whole story matters. In 1955, Parker signed on as Elvis's manager. The standard industry rate for personal management was somewhere between 10 and 15%. Parker charged 25. Then, over time, he pushed that to 50% of everything Elvis earned. Elvis's family, his father Vernon in particular, were dazzled by the machinery Parker brought. The RCA deal in 1956, Heartbreak Hotel, the television appearances, the screaming crowds. Parker delivered all of it and made it look effortless. So when he asked for more, there was a pattern of results to point to. By the time anyone might have questioned the arrangement, Elvis was the most famous person in America, and Parker was fully in control of the finances. The commission alone, across Elvis's career, represented hundreds of millions of dollars redirected from the artist to the manager. But the commission was not the worst of it. In 1973, Parker negotiated a deal with RCA Records that sold the rights to Elvis's entire back catalog, more than 700 songs, everything he had recorded up to that point, for a one-time payment of around $5.5 million. Parker took half. Music historians have called it one of the most catastrophic financial transactions in the history of the industry. Those recordings are worth immeasurably more today. Elvis received no ongoing royalties from his own life's work. When asked about the arrangement years later, Parker reportedly said he was simply making sure Elvis got immediate cash. What he didn't say was that the immediate cash solved a more pressing problem, his own. One phone call, one conversation. That's all it took to change the direction of everything. By the late 1960s, Colonel Parker had what some described as a second office. It was the casino floor of the Las Vegas Hilton. Parker spent 12, sometimes 14 hours a day at the roulette tables. He was not a recreational gambler. He was, by multiple accounts of people who worked around him, someone whose relationship with gambling had become a compulsion that operated entirely outside his control. By the time Elvis died in August 1977, Parker reportedly owed the Hilton Hotel Group somewhere in the region of $30 million in gambling losses. That figure matters because of what it explains. From 1969 onward, Elvis performed in Las Vegas in extended residencies, 2 shows a day, 30 days at a stretch, 60 shows per engagement. Parker kept booking them. Parker kept signing the contracts. The Hilton needed Parker to keep delivering Elvis because Elvis was what kept the doors open and the tables full. And Parker needed the Hilton to keep extending his credit line. Elvis was not performing for himself. He was performing to cover a debt he didn't know existed. His personal physician, Dr. George Nicopolis, Dr. Nick, would later testify at a medical board hearing that in the 7.5 months before Elvis died, he had prescribed him at least 8,805 pills, tablets, vials, and injectables, opioids, sedatives, stimulants to wake him up, barbiturates to bring him down. In September 2025, music historian Peter Guralnick published The Colonel and the King, drawing on decades of research. His finding on the relationship between Parker and Elvis in those final years was precise. Each man knew about the other's addiction. Elvis knew about the gambling. Parker knew about the drugs. And according to Guralnick, neither one said a word, because silence was the arrangement. Each of them kept the other's secret, and in doing so, kept themselves locked in a situation neither had the leverage to escape. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here's the answer they never got, until now. The question fans have asked for decades is simple. Why did Elvis Presley, the biggest name in American music, a man who sold out arenas by simply announcing a tour, never perform in London, never play Paris, Tokyo, Sydney, Berlin, Dublin? The official answer was always vague: scheduling. The demands of the American market. Parker preferred to keep him close to home. The real answer was that Parker could not travel internationally. He had no passport. He had never obtained one, because doing so would require submitting documentation to a government office, and the resulting background check would expose everything: the false identity, the illegal entry, the decades of living as someone he wasn't. In August 1969, at a press conference at the International Hotel in Las Vegas, someone made Elvis a formal offer: $1 million to play 2 nights at Wembley Stadium in England. Elvis was 34 years old, physically in peak condition, and by all accounts from the people who were in the room, visibly excited by the idea. Parker killed it, immediately, no discussion. The same pattern repeated itself for the rest of Elvis's life. A 1975 offer to star opposite Barbra Streisand in A Star Is Born, a film that could have repositioned him as a serious actor, was declined by Parker without meaningful consultation. A world tour that multiple promoters tried to put together never left the planning stage. Every door that might have taken Elvis somewhere beyond Parker's reach was closed before Elvis could walk through it. At this point in the story, most people walked away. What happened instead is the part nobody talks about. Elvis Presley died on August 16, 1977. His fiancée, Ginger Alden, found him on the bathroom floor at Graceland. He was 42 years old. The official cause of death listed on the public medical examiner's report was cardiac arrhythmia, a heart attack in plain terms. Toxicology testing confirmed multiple prescription drugs in his system: opioids, sedatives, other medications. But the official coroner's statement at the time held that none of the drugs present caused or significantly contributed to the death. That statement satisfied nobody. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, wanted answers. He requested a second, private autopsy conducted by a team commissioned by the family. The results were sealed. Under Tennessee law, the official death certificate is not public record until 50 years after the death. That date is August 16, 2027. The private family autopsy, and whatever it contains, will be made public on the same date. For nearly 5 decades, the most complete medical picture of how Elvis Presley died has been locked away by the family that lost him. Whether the findings differ meaningfully from the official record, whether they name causes or contributing factors that were suppressed at the time, is something no one outside a small circle currently knows. What is known is that a 42-year-old man in the grip of exhaustion, grief, and dependency, maintained on that schedule, in that situation, by that arrangement, ran out of time. And if you think that was surprising, the part that comes next is the one that changes how you see all of it. At Elvis's funeral, Parker did not mourn. Eyewitnesses described him in a Hawaiian shirt and a baseball cap, cigar in his mouth, moving quickly toward Vernon Presley to ensure that the business arrangements stayed in place. His reported words were, "Elvis didn't die, the body did. We're keeping up the spirit." Parker remained in control of the Presley estate for another 2 years. When Vernon died in 1979, a probate court appointed a Memphis attorney named Blanchard Tuol to act as legal guardian of Elvis's daughter, Lisa Marie, who was 12 years old. Tuol began investigating the estate's finances. What he found became the basis for a lawsuit. Parker had defrauded the Presley estate of an estimated $7 to $8 million in the 3 years after Elvis's death alone. The 50% commission was found to be unconscionable by the standards of the music industry. The 1973 catalog sale was described as a breach of fiduciary duty. Parker had also never registered Elvis with BMI, the organization that manages music performance rights, meaning 33 songs credited to Presley had never generated a single dollar in songwriting royalties for the artist. The Presley estate sued. The case was eventually settled. Parker's total earnings across his career were estimated at well over $100 million. When he died in 1997, his estate was worth approximately $1 million. The casino had taken most of it. The rest was complicated. Elvis Presley was not destroyed by fame. He was not a cautionary tale about excess or ambition. He was a man of extraordinary talent who was placed, young and trusting, into the hands of someone whose primary concern was never Elvis's career. It was self-preservation. The sealed autopsy opens in 2027. Priscilla Presley's memoir, released in September 2025, offers a window into the private life that public myth never quite captured. Peter Guralnick's account of the Parker-Elvis relationship has added a documented layer to what many suspected but couldn't prove. The conversation about what Elvis Presley could have been, and what was taken from him, is louder right now than it has been in decades. The mystery was never where Elvis went. It was who was standing between him and everywhere he wanted to go. Do you think Elvis ever truly understood what Parker cost him, or was the trust too deep to see it clearly? Let me know below.